Welcome to the Sustain, Change and Grow podcast, where we discuss questions related to climate change and sustainable personal development with experts across different fields. I'm Dilara Salahova. I am currently working at the European Central Bank on sustainable finance topics, and I would like to emphasize that this podcast is not related to my work at the ECB. Instead, it is a part of my desire and effort to raise awareness about the importance of individual actions to address current environmental issues and to bring desired changes into one's life. So in this episode, I'm happy to welcome my guest, Anne Le Corre. She is a 20 years old ecological activist. She is co-founder of the first union focused on the green transformation, Printemps Écologique, and of a workshop against sexism. She previously worked in the automotive industry and in the consulting for public and private organizations. But 2 years ago, she decided to change her career path, and now she is devoting all her time to development of Printemps Écologique that will give employees tools for them to accelerate their company's social and ecological transformation. So very welcome, Anne.
Thank you.
And I'm really excited about having you and looking forward to discuss the Printemps Écologique. But first, let me start with some more personal questions and to know how it all started. So what is sustainability for you and why do you care?
First, thank you for having me. I'm very excited for this discussion with you. And thank you for the first question. Sustainability for me would be guaranteeing life on Earth, life for human life for everyone, and not only our life, but our life on a living planet. So sustainability will ask that question is, how do we live on this planet on a viable way for us, but also for our environment? And the challenge is to meet the need of all within the mean of the planet. I don't know if that's clear, but in other words, it means to ensure that no one falls short on life's essential. So we can think of food, housing, healthcare, political voice, etc., etc. And we want to ensure collectively that we do not overshoot our pressure on Earth's lives supporting systems, because we fundamentally depend on those life supporting systems. And we can think, for example, on stable climate, fertile soils, protective ozone layers. Those are things that we depend on for our survival. I'm just talking about that because I'm thinking of 2 days ago when we had the news that we are how to say it, we are out of one limit, planetary limit, that is chemical pollution on 9. So we overcome 5 of them. So sustainability would be just staying within those 9 limits, planetary limits.
So what do you mean by the planetary 9 planetary limits? So what are they?
That theory that is called the donut, economic donut, and that is setting 9 planetary limits. And it just basically say that we need to stay within those 9 limits to have a safe, viable planet to live on. It went out in the news like 2 days ago, and specifically on chemical pollution, when you have the limit that is overcome, and this is a very alarming aspect, that meaning that we are not staying within those limits.
And so those limits are, can you name them? Like, can you give examples of those limits?
Yeah, sure. So you have chemical pollution. So that's the one we just talked about. But you also have ozone layer depletion, climate change, ocean acidification. You have freshwater withdrawals, land conversion, biodiversity loss, air pollution. And that's kind of the 9 limits.
Yeah, I see. Okay, thank you for this. And when did you think the first time, and what was this light bulb moment when you decided that you have to do something? And did you start with your personal actions, or did you immediately think, no, I have to change the world and the organizations, etc.? So what was your journey?
My journey, I think it always started like this. It's exchanges with friends and colleagues and stuff. So we started talking about that problem, and I just got deeper and deeper into the subject, reading, having reading, seeing conferences and stuff. So you're right. I started with individual action, like not taking the plane, stop eating meat, reducing my waste. But it was a strange feeling because you do some efforts that cost you on your life, and also in the meantime that it has more or less zero impact. So this is very frustrating. Zero impact because at your scale doesn't mean anything when you compare to what we need to change for being on a sustainable world. But you are doing it because you cannot look at yourself in the mirror and saying, okay, I'm eating that much meat and it pollutes that much, and I'm responsible that much for what it's happening. And the best impact at the end of individual action is the exemplarity you are showing to your friend, your colleagues, your surrounding. So this is always something that brings discussion on the matter. So it's not for the impact of the individual action itself, but more of what it brings in the discussion when you show what you do.
So, and essentially you continue doing what you have to do as an individual, but I feel a bit of disappointment that this is not enough, that people, maybe like individuals that you have around, that they don't convert quick enough, and so these individual actions are not sufficient, and you have to do something beyond this.
Yes, that's exactly it. And then when you start thinking more, you just realize that collective action is one of the key, because that's one of the most effective tool you can use. And so that's how I started having action within my companies, bringing people and so on. So yeah, one of the key moments of my me becoming an activist was when the media covered a lot the Amazonian forest burning. So that was, I was like, okay, I just need to change my life, because this is not, I cannot keep doing what I'm doing right now. And I need to be more engaged in collective actions.
Right. Did you try to change or convert your friends, your relatives? Well, given your age, I imagine that the people around you of the same age, you don't need to convert them, but the people like your parents maybe, or the people who are elder, there you need to make an effort. So how did it work?
Yeah, but you actually would be surprised, because I have a lot of friends that are my age and not that sensible to the subject that we could think. They know there is a problem, but from knowing there is a problem to actually taking action, there is like a kind of a step. But yeah, I started, of course, at first trying to talk about it with my family. For example, becoming a vegetarian was kind of a big thing for them, but I very quickly realized that I didn't want it to become the person you don't want to see at the family dinner, because she's always talking to the same of the same subject. So I was
The
like,
pain
okay,
in the neck.
yeah, exactly. So same for feminism, the same fight. So the decision I made after 2 years of talking to this subject is stop talking of this subject with my friend and family. If they have questions, they can ask me, but I won't bring the subject on the table, because I want to keep my friends and my family. And my action is in my daily job. So I'm trying to convert all of the other, not trying to convert, but like trying to put people in action, but all of them, not specifically my family first or my friend first. I don't know if that's clear, but that's too much time consuming and too much energy you put in your family.
Right. And it brings a lot of problems with it.
It's so much debate, so much energy you want to put on the table.
Why this resistance? They don't agree. They don't believe that this is happening. They don't want to change their lifestyle. What are the reasons that you think?
They are actually convinced that there is a problem, that climate change is real and stuff like that. But we would need so much more effort than what we actually do. So yeah, that's a subject that I want to put energy in, talking about the subject on a large scale and not one by one in my family members. So yeah, this is only because debates are time consuming, especially when it's your family, because you can, on the ecological aspect, you can have debates on everything, because we are talking about a systemic problem, and we are talking about a new vision of society. How do we just keep a society together on this subject? So I just stop with my family.
Okay. So let me be a bit provocative. So in a way, it was not very successful to convert your family and your friends to follow the path. Why do you think that trying to convert companies and employers will be more successful?
I would say just my family is kind of, families and friends, they are sure that what I do and is actually a good thing to do. But in company, I think you have a lot of people that are having kind of a cognitive dissonance. They are engaged in their personal life, but when they arrive in at the job, it's kind of like they forget about it. So like I felt it when I was working in a consulting company. I felt like everything I was believing and fighting for outside of my company was not something I could express within the company. And we see a lot of people, very inspiring people, that are taking action, taking initiative within their company, and they need first to be in a collective movement, and that they need to be inspired and helped in the initiatives they are taking within companies. And that's where we arrive with Printemps Écologique.
Okay, so basically you're changing your fight. So you're not fighting with those who don't want to change, but you're trying to bring a platform for those who want to act, and they just don't know how, and that's what you're doing essentially.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so then let's move to the Printemps Écologique, and please tell me, how did it start, and what is it, and what are your goals?
Yeah, it all started with so employees that wanted to engage within their company. And so we started, one person started gathering a community of people, employees around himself to be stronger and just to be inspired one by another. And all together, we started to explore all the options that we have to engage our organization on the ecological transition path. And we identified unionism as one tool, and we just thought like, oh, okay, unionism, labor unions are very powerful. They are shaping the productive system. They are shaping condition of work. They are shaping companies and public administration. So we think that this could be a very effective tool to bring ecological transition within social dialogue and how company works. So basically, that was the idea. Like, okay, we want to push our company to go quicker on social and ecological transformation, and we think unionism could be used for that. So that's how it started, and it basically started 2 years ago. And it started also with the first lockdown of COVID, because we launched Printemps Écologique and then we got all locked down. So we had like a lot of people with a lot of time, just like, okay, what do we do? Okay, let's launch a green labor union. And that was a very specific moment when we started that. And yes, that's how it started.
And so now it's been 2 years, right? And you're
Yes.
fully devoting your time to this. And how do you assess the success, or like this 2 years pass? Are you satisfied? Have you faced challenges that you didn't anticipate? So what is your view?
First success is that we are still here, because there is a lot of organizations that don't go 2 years. So first success is being still an organization 2 years after that. But there were so many challenges, and there is still so many challenges. First is launching a movement with volunteers that are. It's not like we have employees and stuff. We are still, as of today, only volunteers.
Mm-hmm.
There is also the challenge that we need to explain very carefully and in a very clear way why we want to use labor union to tackle the ecological transition, because there is a strong misconception of traditional unionism by employees, a lot of employees. As of today, there is not a lot of people engaged within unions. So we need to kind of change the image and just show and explain to people that is a strong tool that they can be using. And so that's a very strong challenge we have. But yeah, after 2 years, I'm very happy that we are an organization still going on and developing tools and being with people on the field. So we are helping candidates, representative of employees, and employees to take initiative. We are defending them too. So when they have a problem, can be anything with their work contract or anything, we are also able to help them. So yeah.
So you're like a proper union with defending the rights and with all the qualities of a union. So not only focusing on the ecological transition.
Sure. And one thing is important. It's like we are a trade union. We do what trade unions do, but we also want to extend the right of the employees, because it's so useless to have a job if you can breathe proper air or drink drinkable water. You know what I mean? Like defending the right of the employee goes also defending the common good and our planet. So it's extending citizen right to that.
Okay, yeah. And how people are taking you? Like, are they enthusiastic? So you mentioned there is some skepticism about this union format, but beyond this, do people support your, well, let's say, movement or your actions, and they welcome it, or they think, well, that's maybe government should do something and somebody else should do something, and not really you and the unions?
No, we have different reaction. You always depend on the person we have in front of us, but we have very enthusiastic and curious reaction because of the image of unionism. People will always be curious and interesting by the fact that we are new trade union and that we are kind of reinventing how it works. So this is always enthusiastic and curious, and yeah, there is also that challenge we just mentioned before, that is explaining why we are using that tool as trade union. But yeah, I might mention something like maybe you know the triangle of inaction.
No.
Triangle of inaction is like a concept that say that you have company, state, and consumer, and company are saying we won't move because we are waiting for consumer and states to do something. State will be like, no, we don't have the means, so we are waiting for companies and consumer citizen to move, and so on. So consumer and citizen are saying, no, we can't do anything on. So we are waiting for companies and states to move.
Yeah, we're too small to act.
Yeah, exactly. And at the end, nobody does nothing. So what we're saying is, yeah, everyone has to move in at the same time and not waiting for the others. So that's also our job to put the ecological transition in every structure we can. And unions are one of those structures, and they have like a very strong power to act and change things. So we need unions to move on that subject and move faster than it actually is.
Right, yes. So everyone should do their part.
Yeah, on the systemic action.
Yeah. Do you think France does enough or, yeah, like France is quite advanced in terms of its environmental agenda. Do you think it's enough, or there is much to be done? And do you think that companies in part are not moving fast enough because of lacking regulation or infrastructure, something else? What is your view on this?
Well, the fact that France is more, that you're saying is more advanced than other countries, is kind of worrying, because I think we should move very much faster than that, actually. I don't know how we are on the 2015 plan, but I don't think we are on the track for having, like, for example, carbon neutrality, as the COP said, but anyway. Yeah, I think there is, I think for a greener economy, and we are not on track. Companies have a lot of to rethink in their way of functioning. I think like we have 3 topics to tackle further economical models of companies, how we redirect the goals of company and questioning their business model relatively to their actual and future impact on society. And there is models, new business models that exist and need to be experimented by those companies. You also have another subject that is accountability. How do we include our ecosystem in the process, our environment in the process of valuing companies and our economy? Because today, the impact is not included within the value we give to our economy. Like, we need to just rethink the way we measure, we value our growth or
environment, we value happiness, we value people's life satisfaction, etc. Right? So we should go essentially beyond just GDP. We should measure other aspects of life and which make us happy as citizens and fulfilled and also in line with the environmental goals, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And as of today, like, we see that countries only see their success by GDP, for example, or they are not taking enough other measures into account. And it actually applies to companies. I mean, if my company is polluting a lot, polluting an ecosystem or anything, it should actually lower the overall value of my company on the market. And it should have an impact for the investors. So there is that accountability subject to take into account. And the third would be governance. How do we make our companies and organizations more democratic? How do we include more citizens and employees in the decision-making system and process, for example? That are kind of a thing that we need to work on more.
Yeah, right. But there is a question, and I think a bit of a dilemma. So a proverb, you can't have a cake and eat it too, I think reflects very well what I want to say is the employees who, let's say, part of your Printemps Écologique labor union, they want to change the company's behavior. But then to essentially cut emissions, for example, we take the extreme case of a very polluting company like a coal producing company. To reduce emissions of this company essentially means that the company should stop producing coal, and so that the employees should leave the company. And then the question is why the employees whose objectives and values are not in line with the company's actions don't leave the company just themselves. So why should they, burst it, should blow it from inside? There is a dilemma, right? So
there is actually kind of a dilemma, but maybe if you know your company is polluting or is having a bad impact, maybe you want to change your job. Maybe you want your company to be transformed and transform what she does. Maybe she's gonna have a completely different activity. What you don't want to be as an employee is laid off and not being able to just have another job or a different job. What you want is being trained and being having a job that is transforming itself, maybe in the same company, maybe in a different company, but you want to be able to have the capabilities and knowledge to adapt and being employed somewhere else or in the same company, but with a different economical model. So this is the most important. Training, and having also a clear view on where the company is going. If my company is transforming, doing I don't know, solar panels instead of coal, how we accompany those transfer of competencies.
Okay. And can you be a bit more specific about your of the steps that you are thinking about? So how do you work with the candidates, with the people who become part of the Printemps Écologique? So what are your kind of business model? So what do you do exactly? So you mentioned this training. What do you train them for, or to do what? And what are the steps?
Yeah, so we are at the beginning of this of Printemps Écologique. So as of today, when someone is taking a membership and wants to be help, we are having like a little just meeting. We meet, and the person is integrated into the community. So you get to know a lot of people that are like you, like me, engaged within the organization. And then you start, okay, what can I do? What initiatives can I bring? And we just identify which one would be interesting given your context, because you will not have the same initiative in a big company or in a little company. So it's really depend of your context. And then we will help you putting that initiative, giving you insight from other people that are already in the process of having this initiative. But for example, we have carbon footprint analysis that we can help you with. It gives actually a clear vision of when and where the company is emitting the most. And then it gives you keys for talking to your management, saying, okay, that's where we are the most emitting or polluting. So what can we do about it? Let's have a plan of action. And it can be really a lot of action, a lot of initiatives. This is very, very, very complete. Like you can do you can do training, you can do, you can bring a lot of initiative and action within your company.
Okay, so basically all you need from a member is just the will to act, and afterwards basically you're ready to brainstorm together to look at the company, what a company can do, to train with the knowledge about the climate change, the actions that the company can do, train some other soft skills for negotiations, so even talking to your boss. And okay, right, that's
and if the person doesn't want to act within their company, can also act within Printemps Écologique. I mean, it's we have some people that are just thinking that are alone in their company, thinking that, and so they're like, okay, so I'm just going to be volunteering at Printemps Écologique and not specifically in my company, but helping the others spread in other employees.
Yeah, the community is super important, to know that you're not alone, and there are other people who think the same way. I think it's really key. Mm-hmm. And especially now with the COVID closed in our four walls, this feeling of being alone and not knowing what to do is super strong.
Yeah.
And how many companies, or in how many companies do you already have your representatives or your members?
We have around 200 members, so it depends. It's kind of the same amount of company. I think it would be 100 companies or 150. I don't really know exactly. because it really depends. Some people are members and they are alone in their company, and some people are alone are several people of Printemps Écologique in the same company. So it really depends.
And how Printemps Écologique is organized itself? So you are what, 4 founding members? Then you have 200 members. Do you organize regular meetings? Like what is the structure? How do you organize yourself?
We basically have 5 people that are very, very invested and that are kind of doing the logistical work, taking a lot of decisions, and then we have like a big assembly that is being held every year. So that's 2 times for now, taking big decisions and stuff like that. But basically, people are very free. You can, if you have an idea and you want to bring it in Printemps Écologique, you just talk to people, ask questions. Do you think that's a good idea? What do you think? Could we do it? And then you are completely free to do it. It's called a duocracy. So basically, you just talk about your idea, take feedbacks, and then go ahead. If some people want to work with you, go ahead. Like really freedom. Because we don't have actually the resources to just being okay, no, it's you basically very free.
Okay, so as a new structure, you have a lot of freedom, initiative-driven democracy.
Yeah.
I see. And so there are also other organizations. Actually, they're really popping up with the. I'm quite impressed by the number of initiatives, and I would call it the social startups. So, and how do you interact, communicate with them? Do you find the common ground? Do you lead, conduct actions together? So, what are the relationships there?
Very good, actually. That's a very good sign. You're right. There is more and more organization involved in how do we transform companies on social and ecological matters. So there is a lot of organization, more and more. There is Le Collectif, there is those kind of organization, and we have very good relationships with them. For example, we are organizing on 1st of May, 3 days of a festival, gathering those actors that are acting for ecological transition within companies, organization, and stuff. So it's going to be as much as management of big companies, management of smaller companies, but also other trade unions, public organization, but also collective of employees. You see, that's a strong diversity of actors, and they're all working together. I think right now, some organizations have very good relationship one with another, but we're missing like kind of coordination on those subjects. So that's kind of what is aiming the festival. And then having that ambition to bring also a plan of action after the festival, saying, okay, we met, we had that space of dialogue. Now, how do we go further, and how we take action together as organizations?
Oh, that's good. That's really positive, because you're not trying to be rivals, but you're working together. That's super important. And do you have, do you know examples? How does it work in other countries? Are there similar actions like through unions? What is happening around?
The union landscape is very diverse through Europe, because there's there is not the same systems. This is not the same system from a country to another. But we see unions, labor unions, taking more and more into account the question of ecological transition. But there is none that is taking the ecological transition as a lens for seeing the social problem on a systemic level. So as far as I know, Printemps Écologique is kind of the unique union on that aspect, but we see more and more of the traditional labor union taking that problem, and we are being in contact with a lot of European trade unions that are with which we discuss, and sometimes we do presentation and stuff like that. So I think with different way of action, anyway, this kind of initiative is spreading. And the idea that labor unions have a very strong role to play is actually present in since 2015. So the International Organization of Work just say, okay, trade unions, you need to play a role in that. So it's not new, it's just taking a bit more time.
Okay, yeah, it takes time to start acting.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so our time is almost up. So I have 3 last questions. So one is about you, because for you it was a big change, I imagine. So leaving the corporate world and starting this completely new work with Printemps Écologique. So I see what moves you. So it's the feeling of this personal responsibility to act regarding to what's happening with the planet and the environmental issues. But how do you go through this change? I imagine that sometimes it's tough. So, or maybe you're enjoying it. So how do you cope? And also, how do you cope during the doom moments?
With you mean when I feel a discouragement or something like that?
Yes, when you feel discouraged, when you think, oh, why did I change my job? I should have always stayed.
I think that the way, so basically when you realize what is on our heads, you have different phases. You have the realization, you refusing, then the reality, then you are feeling very, very bad, and then you are taking action and you feel better. That's basically how it happened when you realize the ecological emergency. So the way I cope with that reality is taking action and making it my job and being in the action. And a very, very important thing is being with a collective, with a lot of other people that are taking action and that inspire me. And basically people.
Yeah.
That's the collective. A collective action is one of the things that is the most inspiring for me, and that makes me very much move. Makes me move very much.
Yeah. Okay. So the like-minded people and their actions are inspiring. So and that's and I think it's really powerful and insightful that we're probably. Not probably, we're going through moments of weakness, and that's when other people and their behavior supports us, and we keep moving forward.
Yes.
Okay, so and then if somebody wants to start acting, so what piece of advice would you give to this person?
I think to take the vision of what's going on. I think you could start with Fresque du Climat, climate fresque, because that's training and that's also meeting new people. Then, of course, taking a membership at Printemps Écologique. And third, it will always be getting to meet new people that can inspire you and that can give you powerful advice. This is all about meeting people on the subject.
Thank you. I think that's really good suggestions. And can you tell me 2 books that inspired you the most?
First one is it's Pablo Servi, How Everything Can Collapse. So that's a very strong book. There is a
very inspiring title.
Yeah, but this is that's the one that actually ring a bell with me. And the second one is Où atterrir, Bruno Latour. It's Where to Land.
Okay, it's a French author.
Yeah, both are French.
Okay.
But I think they are in English too.
And what the second is about?
Où atterrir, Bruno Latour.
Yeah. So is it about what to do next?
Yeah, basically.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Anne. I think that was a very insightful and very interesting conversation. And all the best with the Printemps Écologique, and hope many more companies and people will join the movement. That's what we need.
Thank you very much.